So instead of doing individual reviews of whatever came out this past season, I figured I'd just give you a nice little rundown. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly. So let's do a good, a surprising, a really bad, and a guilty pleasure, because it's more fun that way. Well, otakus, let's get started with the good news, shall we? The best anime of the season was Plastic Memories. Now I didn't actually pick up this anime until it was on roughly episode 9, because the concept was interesting, yet the whole white-haired, red-eyed, stoic lolly character has bothered me ever since Ruri from Martian Successor and Desico, so the character designs just kind of turned me off, but I eventually caved in because the rest of the season was a little lackluster, and I just needed something to watch, so I figured I'd give it the old 3-episode treatment. Episode 1 instantly develops the premise, the personalities, and just hits you with the right hook to the feels by the end of the episode. Granted, the feels effect isn't enough to make a show good, but it's definitely enough to capture initial interest. As far as the supporting cast goes, it's very trope-filled and atypical for an anime nowadays. The tsundere, the meek boss, the bossy short-tempered lead co-worker, the playboy co-worker, the little brother type of character who outs the tsundere whenever she's being difficult, and of course you have the bubbly blonde female who loves boobs and glumping girls more than Jerry the King Lawler.
Whoa. Oh my god! What are we...
Very intelligently though, the main characters don't fall into the trope ditch too much. The story really starts to revolve around them using the secondary characters as catalysts while increasing one another's adoration slowly. As the show progresses, it has a lot of heart and depth to the storyline, to the character development, to the love story, to everything. And not to mention, it also has a very interesting message that it likes to get across with the whole fact of enjoying today for what it is, instead of always wishing for more or immediate gratification, or basically a lot of things that current society has kind of done away with, which is kind of nice to see. And even though it has kind of a preachy, moral kind of point to it, it's never very heavy-handed or pushy about its own concept or its own views. It's just quite enjoyable. And the last episode doesn't really pull punches. It could have copped out like many other emotional animes have lately, with some kind of magical wish or random thing that made Ayla unique, and it didn't, which was very nice to see the anime stick to its guns and put a nice cap to the emotional roller coaster and the grief and the happiness that you felt with these characters and throughout the storyline. Some people have tried to equate it to Your Lie in April. However, the reasonings for the character development and the way in which the characters actually develop are completely different, and for completely different reasons. Either way, yes, it does hit you with the feels every few episodes, but it's paced well, it splices in good slice of life with even a little bit of action along the way, and ends up being very well balanced and immersive, and you can't really find many faults with it as a story. So for my most surprising, I've got my love story. It's my most surprising because, honestly, I was surprised I actually liked it. I'm not a big fan of the shoujo art style, even though I do like some shoujo anime like Suzuka and Peach Girl, so put down the pitchforks, but primarily how they're drawn usually bothers me. Once I learned that the premise was that the big muscular goofy guy got the girl instead of the pretty bishonen boy, yeah, that was enough to garner my initial interest. Immediately you learn about Tsunekawa and Takeo's amazing bromance that they have together. It's very different than what you normally see in some animes because their bond goes a lot deeper, so much so that when Suna actually explains why he turns down certain girls that like him, it's kind of nice to see that level of dedication he has to his best friend, even though Takeo is so dense he makes lead float. Once you actually get to the love story aspect of it, it's very, well, realistic. Both characters stumble around and act clueless as 14-year-olds should, and plus they both have completely different views and they're on a completely different wavelength in the relationship. It's really kind of nice to see them try to work out their awkwardness yet still be completely enthralled by one another. Also, since this is continuing into the next season, I'm interested to see the progress the relationship takes. And maybe if Suna finds a girl he's actually comfortable dating, this is also a main reason why it wasn't best of the season since it's continuing into the summer season. The award for worst has to go to Danmachi, or is it wrong to fuck a duck in a gimp suit? Whatever, its title is obnoxiously long and it's just the quintessential example of everything I dislike about anime nowadays. a generic main character with no real motivation beyond the Naruto-esque "I want to be strong, so by sheer force of will, I'll manifest this experience enhancement ability, cause that makes sense." Yeah, even a goddess can't explain how he has this ability, cause nobody else does. But whatever, that just starts the plot armor and the random shit that doesn't actually make sense. And the goddess herself is actually a main problem of this damn anime too. Goddess Hestia is the lolly design with a giant rack that is just beyond terrible. Like in episode 2, there is very literally a boob measuring contest between her and Loki. So yeah, this obsession with girls that look 14 with chests bigger than their heads, it's kind of, yeah, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Screw you people. And if that's not enough to make you uninterested in the show, Bell is the typical wish fulfillment type of character where his mere presence, a naive, boyish, stumbling around and overreactive stupidity is just enough to build your own harem and make everybody love you, except the one that you really want, but she'll probably come along later down the line. I don't care. It's freaking generic and garbage and terrible. Not to mention, the show's basis is literally off the fact that Bell's grandfather told him to go be a hero and save a pretty girl so he can get married. So his original reason for even wanting to be an adventurer is to get famous and get laid.
Hey everybody, we're all gonna get laid!
No bullshit. That's seriously what was said in the anime. Terrible premise, worse characters, completely bland and generic everything. Yeah, this is so bad it makes Sword Art Online look like a masterpiece. So guilty pleasure of the season goes to Triage X. I'll make it a habit to watch most of any genre, and ecchi is really just kind of annoying for me to watch, but I read the premise and I said, why the hell not? So I give it a shot, and within 2 minutes, before the opening even rolls, there's half a dozen panty shots, jiggly bits, and some woman in a bikini doing reconnaissance that way. And I guess if she makes her comfortable, well, yeah, you know what, why not? Why not? Comfort is part of being an assassin, I suppose. And because of all these things, I was going to drop the anime fairly quickly, but then the male protagonist gives one of their targets a choice, and then some random blonde child appears next to him. And as the actual episode progresses, you actually get to see what the point of that was. And long and short, all of the main characters have something extremely tragic happen in their past, which basically caused them to die, and then be saved by a special drug, all thanks to the doctor that's behind the Black Label Hit Squad. Now, it was only slated for 10 episodes, so I'm not sure if there's an OVA or a second season, because I really didn't feel like looking it up, but it was definitely a decent ride if you can stomach the ecchi. I mean, it pulls no punches and it's fully aware of what kind of anime it is. It's also because it knows what it is that it uses a very good plot device by making every target seem completely scum of the earth and subhuman, and they're usually seen torturing some scantily clad female, and the scene looks very much like it could have been taken out of some BDSM hentai. You know, replace the ropes with a couple tentacles and use your imagination. Either way, it's an action show, it's guns, it's boobs, it's motorcycles, it's explosions. After the main opposing faction is introduced, you get a clearer picture for most of the characters' backstories, and you see them as a little more than walking fan service. Is it critically wonderful? Fuck no. But that's why it's a guilty pleasure and not a misunderstood gem. So that's my rundown. Tell me what you thought and what some of your best, worst, guilty pleasure and most surprisings were of the seasons. And as always, enjoy your new opinion.